Good morning, everybody, and welcome. We'd like to call our meeting to order at 10:02, and also would like to welcome the ASU Prep Junior High and High School Choir, accompanied by their music director, Ms. Melissa Hudson, and they'll be providing us with the Pledge of Allegiance, as well as the National Anthem and whatever else they've chosen to entertain us with, and we appreciate them. Thank you. Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched, where so gallantly bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave,
Wonderful. Good job, guys. Very nice. Thank you very much.
Very nice.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much. It was wonderful. We will not have an opening prayer this morning, but we will commence with a roll call by Melissa.
President Narducci,
Here.
Vice President Kaur,
Here.
Superintendent Hoffman,
Here.
Member Broussard,
Here.
Member Baker,
Here.
Member Chang,
Here.
Member Kay,
Here.
Member Mack, Member Burton,
Here.
Member Ruiz,
Present.
Member Wellborn.
Present.
You have a quorum.
Thank you very much, and welcome to all members here and on the phone. We're going to proceed with the President's report, and I'm going to turn some time over to Vice President Kaur to give a review of what happened at the retreat, since I was on the phone for those 2 days dealing with a family issue. Someone who's in person could probably provide the report a heck of a lot better than I. Go ahead, Daniel.
Sure, happy to. We held our annual board retreat in Flagstaff early August, and really could not imagine a more beautiful place than the Northern Arizona University campus. Big thank you to Dr. Cheng for hosting us. The weather was perfect, the food was perfect, everything absolutely perfect, and of course, Member Wellborn providing a wonderful social opportunity for dinner for the members to enjoy. Thank you very much. It was wonderful. Lastly, big thank you to board staff. Put all the materials together. We had everything we needed when we needed to have a fruitful conversation over a day and a half. Really, special thanks to Sandy, board's receptionist, for planning all of the logistics of the 2 days we spent in Flagstaff. At the retreat, we were able to have multiple, very robust, productive conversations. First, along with some of the research provided by West Ed, we studied national trends on school improvement and certainly gained a better understanding of the main levers of school improvement. We all look forward to, as a board, West Ed returning in early September, where we will continue our conversation with additional studies and research. Secondly, we discussed the work of the K-3 Literacy Ad Hoc Committee, And again, a big thank you to all the members of that committee and stakeholders involved for the important work being done in this area. We are working together to develop a comprehensive early literacy system in Arizona, and I think we're all excited to see the committee when it develops further for us at their September 12th meeting, when the Education Committee of the States will be presenting new national data on early literacy and retention. Lastly, thank you to both board staff and the investigative unit at the department for their hard work in tracking the educator discipline within our state. The board discussed at length current loopholes in the system and what changes need to be made so that we can ensure the most important thing of all, the safety of our students. The board's audio discussion of the retreat can be found on the board's webpage. And stakeholders who might need additional information, Director Williams will be able to provide that to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Corr. And just final comments on our report is that Member Mack, who may be participating by phone, as she has been invited to participate, she's out of the country. She's been invited to participate in a United Nations sponsored project that involves supporting the country of Turkey as they shift to a new national curriculum. The goal of national curriculum is to translate the country's vision of education into an actionable framework for instruction and assessment. She will join a team of international experts in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and the team will collaborate to realize Turkey's vision of a world-class education where students are thoroughly prepared for success in the future. The focus in this UN project is to provide an innovative and research-based way to translate Turkey's vision of education into transformational STEM instruction and classroom assessment. We're very proud of Member Mack and glad that she's there and wish her success in those efforts. That's all for our report. We now move over to the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. This is our first board meeting since the school year started, which means that I've restarted our school visits. And since August 1st, I've already had the pleasure of traveling out to schools in the Queen Creek School District, as well as Fort McDowell Yavapai Nation and the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian communities. Just had amazing trips there, and we have a lot of great pictures from those trips. So I hope everyone is following our trips on our social media so that you can also see all the amazing work happening in our schools. One of our other announcements is that last week we were very excited to announce that we have filled the position for our new Associate Superintendent of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. Her name is Erica Maxwell. Erica's experience includes roles as an administrator in the Chandler Unified School District, an instructional coach at Skyline Gila River, which is a nonprofit charter school serving the Gila River Indian community, an adjunct faculty member at Chandler Gilbert Community College, a faculty associate at ASU, and additionally, she served as a member of the Opportunities for Youth Educational Momentum Action Team, supporting at-risk and disconnected youth. So as you can hear, she is extremely well qualified for this position, and I hope you will all have a chance to connect with Erica in the coming months. We are very excited for her to join our team. Another announcement we're excited to share is that we also last week announced the creation of the department's first ever Student Advisory Council. We will select 15 students from across the state from grades from 5th through 12th grade. And we hope that they will share their perspectives and help guide the work of the department. I know for me personally, it's been about 15 years since I was in high school. And as I visit our schools, I know some people don't think that's a lot, but for a high school student, that's a lifetime. And the careers that our students are seeing now, for example, when I was in high school, Instagram did not exist. And now you can make millions of dollars being an Instagram influencer. So there's many careers out there that didn't even exist when I was in high school. So I look forward to meeting with this group of students to hear about their experiences, challenges, and passions. I hope you'll encourage students in your life to apply for the Student Advisory Council, and you can now find the application to apply on our website, which is azed.gov. We're also pleased to announce the creation of 2 new positions that will be within our certification and teacher preparation department that will be dedicated to teacher recruitment and retention. These openings are not yet posted. We're still going through the HR process, but as we know that the teacher shortage and teacher recruitment and retention are top issues in our state, we wanted to create these positions to formally and directly address the need for highly effective teachers in every classroom in our state. So please keep an eye out for the announcement when these positions are open, which will be in the very near future. And also, I wanted to highlight, we pulled up the website here. If you look at the screen, I wanted to highlight again our state report card system. And the website that we have pulled up here is azreportcards.azed.gov. And the reason I wanted to bring this up again is that we know that there is so much more to our schools than just testing data and just school report card data. So while that's important, we also wanted to show a new addition to our website. It's down here. So I pulled up, this is a school I visited in the spring in the Mercury Mine, which is in the Paradise Valley Unified District. I just selected them randomly. And so while parents, community members, teachers, anyone can pull this. This is available to the public with a lot of great information about the school. We have tons of data available. But what I really wanted to draw your attention to is this section here that was recently added, because we really want schools to have the opportunity to highlight their achievements, their special programs, sports, music, arts, after-school opportunities. And another reason I'm highlighting this is because as I kind of just browsed through the Arizona Report Cards website, I've noticed that many schools have not yet uploaded their information in this section yet, because this is a newer section that we added. So please, we encourage schools to upload their information, and that would be through the EOS system in ADE Connect. And that way families can access all of this great information in one place. And I also wanted to note that our team is also working to add a feature that will connect the school report card to this website to the Board of Regents site, so that you will also be able to see a high school's post-secondary data. So we're still making improvements to this website. So yeah, please make sure schools have all your great, because we really, again, want to make sure that you have all your highlights featured here, not just your, testing is not the only part to a school culture. So I think this is really great to be able to offer this. All right, and then my last announcement is for our staff recognition for ADE. And today I'm thrilled to recognize Angela Swayze, who is on our assessment team, as this meeting's outstanding department staffer. Unfortunately, Angeles is actually out of town right now. She is celebrating the birth, or out of office, celebrating the birth of a new grandchild, but she's been with our department for over 31 years, so I think it's okay that she took a couple days off. Angeles is an alternate assessment project specialist, and she was nominated by her colleague, Heather Forbes. Her outstanding customer service, team-oriented spirit, and her dedication to clear and accessible data make her an invaluable member to the Department of Education and to her team. As Heather wrote, Angeles is a walking poster board of ADE values. She displays a strong dedication to excellence and inspires accomplishments of team members through her desire to help others succeed. And since Angeles is out, I would like to present this award to her supervisor, Bethany, who is on the assessment team with her. Is Bethany here? Or I can give it to Audra. Oh, there we go.
It's nice. It is really nice.
And that completes my report.
Thank you, and congratulations. That's awesome, 31 years. That is fantastic. Move on to the Executive Director's report.
Good morning, President Narducci, Superintendent Hoffman, members of the board. The Executive Director's report today is very short. This is just a notification to the board and to the field that the district Arizona online instruction applications for the school year of 2021 has been opened. You can find the application on our website. That application deadline is October 31st, at which point board staff will forward any applications we receive for the AOI program to Rio Salado. Rio Salado is our evaluator for that program. Then the board will take action on those applications between February and April of 2020.
Thank you. Appreciate the report. Anything else? Thank you very much. We're going to move on to item number 2 on our agenda, which is call to the public. This is the time for members of the public to comment on items on the board's consent agenda and items not on the agenda. Today, because of the number of public comments we're going to receive, we are limiting the time to 2 minutes. I just want to put a word out, 2 minutes per person, not total public comment for 2 minutes. Please be respectful in your comments. Please have civil discourse in your comments. Please have kindness and cordiality in your comments. In a world where there's a lot of negative comments being thrown at various people, including our officers and amongst one another on social media, etc., since we have the opportunity here and in other forums to have public comment, and we're very grateful that we are able to have that as Americans, I just ask that we please be civil, because we are all in this for the same reason. We're in this for the benefit of our school system. We're in this for the benefit of our students. So please be mindful of that as you give your comments and as you discuss things amongst one another. We're all in this room. You're all here because you care about what's happening. So please be mindful of that as people of different opinions may come up and give comments that you don't agree with, and that's okay. But just be mindful to be civil to one another in this room and out of the room. Thank you. And we'll commence with public comment.
First up, we have Stephen Ugal, followed by Angie Russo.
Shortening it up for you.
All right, ready? I'm Stephen Ugal, requesting an update to the Arizona Social Studies standards to require Holocaust education. I wrote an email to the board July 31st, 2019 on the subject with background information attached. Everyone in America has a story. Where you came from, how you got here. My grandparents arrived by boat as many did, fleeing from the evil known as the Holocaust. The year is 2019. And American white nationalism is in the headlines. We see the violence in Charlottesville and the synagogue shooting in Squirrel Hill. We know that if we don't do something meaningful, this hate can, and certainly will, rise again. As of 2019, Arizona does not require the Holocaust to be taught. It's just a suggestion. For high schoolers like me, the facts of the Holocaust and the radical ideology behind it are very important to know, because 22% of millennials have never heard about the Holocaust, and nearly 58% of Americans believe something like the Holocaust could happen again. There are those who even deny it happened, and that is why we must never forget. For all of these reasons, 11 states have passed laws requiring the Holocaust to be taught in schools. In Arizona last year, House Resolution H.R. 2032 expressed support for Holocaust education in Arizona schools. If the board would recommend the Holocaust as a requirement, students will learn there is no supreme race or religion and no perfect color of skin. History teaches us that racism and hate for other cultures is wrong, because it can lead to such destruction. The Arizona State Board of Education has the power to change history, or at the very least, stop the Holocaust from being erased forever. Please consider amending the state standards to reflect this change. For the generations past, we must teach this accurate and necessary history. Hashtag never again. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Don't usually comment on public comment, but well done, and thank you very much.
Angie Russo, followed by Piper Searfoss.
Hello, my name is Angie Russo. I'm a mom and a member of Purple for Parents. I'm here today to strongly oppose Superintendent Kathy Hoffman's treatment of the ESA families that have been denied or kicked off the program a few days before school started. I don't understand how Arizona's schools are failing our kids so miserably, evidenced by proficiency tests, and instead of focusing on areas of study like reading or writing, the superintendent wants to use programs that over-sexualize our children with comprehensive sexual education. Us parents had to come down here and speak for 4 hours to tell you how much we didn't want that. Focus on implementing math programs instead of victimhood and racist propaganda with programs like equity and inclusion that promote so-called social justice. If you really want true equity and inclusion, you should not only reinstate our ESA families, but expand ESA to all kids. That would mean that every single parent had control over their child's educational needs. Regardless of race, religion, gender, or socioeconomic status, they could send their kid anywhere they see fit. Not to mention, we would get more bang for our buck and save the state money. That is equity, and it would include everyone. Education would rapidly improve because healthy competition makes for a better end product. So it would definitely be a solution to the major problem of more than 50% of the kids in the state of Arizona that are failing in reading, math, history, and science. I also don't understand how Superintendent Hoffman created a new position and hired a, quote, Associate Superintendent of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion to ensure students have the best possible educational outcomes by ensuring access to supportive learning environments across the state, end quote. Then turns around and denies or terminates the Navajo family's ESA benefits with the threat of repayment. How about the African American military family that was denied, whose special needs child's biological mother passed away? Or the blind homeless woman who was denied ESA benefits for her special needs child because she didn't have a permanent address? The most vulnerable and disadvantaged children in our communities are the ones being affected the worst.
Thank you. Yeah, we're going to have to keep the time. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Also, with
Piper.
the cameras, I just want to make sure that we're complying with fire code to make sure that the door stays open. Thank you.
Piper Searfoss, followed by Catherine Barrett.
I have a question about ESA and why they're denying therapy items. We need therapy, we need PE, and we have letters that state that it's recommended. An item as simple as a ball is purchased by a school, but we can't purchase them with ESA.
Sorry, the public comment is just for public comment.
Yes,
It's
I
not
know,
for
this is a
interaction.
comment.
Okay, thank you.
But it's just, if we have letters of approval from our therapist stating that a child needs items, why are they being denied? We need to change that. We need to fix it. We need to allow the children to have what they need and us to decide if it's necessary or not. If it's written as an approval for it by a therapist, it should be allowed. Thank you.
Catherine Barrett, followed by Representative Kelly Townsend. Okay. I don't believe Catherine is here, so let's go with Representative Kelly Townsend, followed by Carrie Perez.
Catherine asked me to read her statement. Is that possible?
President Arducci, are you okay with?
Catherine asked me to read her statement because she
Sure,
can't
that'll be fine. Thank you.
The Empowerment Scholarship Account, ESA, program concept is one of the providing special needs services in conjunction with parental selection. Changing the program in an arbitrary manner with no advance notice, no public discussion, and bring masked as clerical errors, training errors, and any input error is a disguise for elimination and the blocking of what it was a parental right. To maintain a policy and implement this requires collusion on the department head, outside influencers, and makes parents skeptical why the elected individuals implemented a 2019 change. Are we saying it's time to follow the money, individuals' power, or selective bias? Respectfully, Catherine Barrett.
Next up, we have Representative Kelly Townsend, followed by Carrie Perez.
Good morning, Chairman Hoffman and members. I apologize for coming in late and I can't stay, but what I did want to do is come here and talk to you about funding. From the information that I have, I'm concerned with the number of employees that are working on the ESA program. People have come to me talking about long hold times. Last time we were here, we had someone come here and give testimony about how long she was on hold. There was a video done by the same individual where the entire time that she was being interviewed, she was on hold. I'm hearing two sides of the story. From this side, I'm hearing that there isn't enough funding to pay for employees to cover all the caseload, that type of thing. I'm also looking at the money that was allocated and the number of employees that are employed. And it's my understanding there's 13 employees, and that I was told, and I don't know if this is true yet, but I'm assuming that it is, that some of them are on leave. So my question is, are they the ones who are on leave, if they are on leave, do you have temporary employees coming in to fill in for them? What is the dollar amount that you think that you're going to need so that you can focus on the front end of getting this work done for those who are applying? And I know that you spent some time looking at auditing some of your members or the applications, and I appreciate that you're doing that. One of them actually when I looked at it, was not eligible. So I appreciate that you're going through that, but I would also ask that you prioritize the application so that people can get into school. I've talked with my seatmate, Senator David Farnsworth, and he agreed that in the JLAC meeting that's coming up, the Joint Legislative Audit Committee, that he's going to propose an agenda item that we call for an audit to see exactly where the money is going, how it's being spent, where the resources are being put, where the needs are, so that you guys can do your job effectively for the people in this state. So I would ask that you present to us an itemization of where your needs are and the reasons why you cannot complete the job to take care of these folks. And it sounds like my time's up. Thank you.
I can comment.
Carrie
on that one.
Perez, followed by Steve
Excuse
Weinberg.
me, Director Williams. Superintendent Hoffman has a comment for Representative
I would be
Johnson.
happy to schedule a meeting to present you with all of the information you're requesting, including we did hire a couple temps to fill those people who are on leave, and we're doing everything we can to meet the needs of we have over 6,000 students who are enrolled in the program, so we're doing everything we can to support them as well as to process applications.
If I may ask
we can't have a discussion here, but I just wanted to say I would love to meet with you to discuss this further and to show you all of our data. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Carrie Perez. This is my daughter Eden, and I just wanted to bring her here so that you guys can have a visual on who an ESA recipient is. Eden is going to be 9 years old. She was in the public school system. She has a diagnosis of autism and intellectual impairment, and the ESA program really has been, sorry, I didn't think I'd do this, great. She was nonverbal. There were security issues. She was divided up her time of 60 minutes of speech among other students per month. And now that she's able to partake in the ESA program, she's thriving. She just sent the Secretary of State her trade name for a business. She wants to be an entrepreneur and a business owner. And so this ESA program, she's going to be able to give back into society. She's going to make a contribution. And just because she has a disability doesn't mean that she's going to be held back. And, you know, we've been recipients for about 3 years, and so it was before you came on. And there are a lot of changes, and I've never received any notification. And so this is a beautiful program, and of course, when you have good news and beautiful programs, you share it with people. And I have a lot of friends that have children with special needs because there's practically one in every household. And I feel like it makes me out to be not a liar, but not knowing everything that's happening, because all these changes that I don't even know about, deadlines where before you were able to fill out an application every quarter or, throughout the year. And so you might have a special needs child who's in a school setting and they're not getting the therapies and the education that they need. And so halfway through school year, a parent may decide, you know what, this isn't going to work. And they need that other option or a smaller classroom size. And so I just want you to see my daughter and to know that it's been a beautiful program. We have been so blessed. And there's also some SOS and Red for Ed members out there saying that it's primarily rich families that partake in it, and we are by no means rich, and they're giving out false information in regards to recipients. I'm not taking tax dollars to put her in a nice, fancy private school because I don't want to spend my money. It's not the case. So thank you for your time.
Steve Weinberg, followed by Scott Weinberg. Steve Weinberg. Okay, how about a Scott, and I think it's Weinberg. I can't read the handwriting. Is it Weinberg?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Scott Weinberg. I'm a resident of Ahwatukee, and I have 2 children in the Kyrene School District. My daughter attends Altadena Middle School, which has been without a school resource officer since 2017 after they lost state funding. I've been advocating for the return of school resource officers to all 3 of the Ahwatukee middle schools since 14 students and 3 staff members were viciously gunned down in Parkland, Florida on February 14th, 2018. I've met with my daughter's principal, superintendent, and spoken multiple times at my district board meetings. Most recently, I sat down with our school safety coordinator, which is a newly created position within the Kyrene School District. All agree on the benefits of SROs and have voiced support for their return if funding is made available. I understand the value school counselors provide to our students, having utilized their services when I was in grade school. I also recognize the importance of suicide prevention and the role counselors can play in helping to identify potential active shooters among student populations. What I worry about are the threats from outside the student population. Without an SRO, our schools are defenseless against lone wolf or terrorist attacks. While having an SRO on campus is no guarantee they will be successful in neutralizing an active shooter, it's hard to argue that the chances of saving lives is greater with an SRO than without. I want to thank Superintendent Hoffman for being the sole vote in favor of distributing the additional $20 million made available by the AZ legislature for this school year. And I urge the remaining board members to vote in favor of utilizing these resources immediately before we have a major event in our state. I also ask that you allow each district to determine the best use of these funds according to their individual needs. Thank you.
Forrest Moriarty, followed by Beth Ann Hathcock.
Hi, my name is Forrest Moriarty. I am a member of Purple for Parents, and the reason I'm here today is to ask a question regarding the recent change to the website about an ESA issue. So typically, ESA families can apply by September 1st, and it was just changed, I think, over the weekend. We had a bunch of parents reach out to us that the application deadline date was arbitrarily moved from September 1st to August 1st. Well, a lot of those families, obviously, they got a lot to deal with, as you can tell. They've kids with special needs, whatever the issues are. They may wait until the 30th to apply, right? And that date was arbitrarily changed. We don't know why that happened. And also, there's people that have applied after August 1st through today. And what's going to happen to all of those families who either applied after August 1st or are waiting. They were waiting until today or tomorrow or the next to apply for their ESA program because the deadline was arbitrarily moved up a month. So are those people denied? Are they not denied? Can they still apply? Is this going to affect next year? We don't know. So we'd like to know the answer to that. The other reason why I'm here is, thanks to Kelly Townsend and Senator Farnsworth and Mark Fincham and Anthony. I spoke to Anthony Kern this morning, and there is a big movement to amongst our legislature to request that the Auditor General investigate the ESA program's administration, because we've had family after family being negatively impacted by its administration with regards to the Navajo families, the military family down in Tucson, the blind homeless mom, all the special needs families that were told that they had an ESA and then had it revoked after the fact. This has become an issue where political ideologies may be at play, but it's impacting people in a very negative way, and we want to put that to an end. So the last thing I'll say is that we're looking to have ESA for all, to expand this program so that every parent has the same choice. Thanks.
Last up, we have Beth Ann Hathcock.
Members of the board, hello. Thank you, President and Superintendent Kathy Hoffman. I'm here because I've had a child in the public education system, 3 children actually, and my journey with autism in the public education system started in 2004. So I've been a parent in the public education system dealing with the dynamics that a lot of these ESA families are so grateful for the ESA program because of what it can do. The other dynamic that did make my situation a little different was that my son had a gifted IQ as well. So there was quite a bit of misinformation given to me. I was told that he couldn't apply for gifted education at the time. There's been changes. I know that these ESA moms have no time for this delay based on the experiences that I've had. The amount of therapy that these kids need for early intervention will always be in competition with their seat work. It's tragic. I've seen so many parents cry in this inability to manage the obligations of the public education system demands and therapy. So when this ESA program, which did replace many other ones prior to it that were similarly what seems to be a dismantling currently of what the ESA program is, I've seen it. I've seen the economy change. I've seen the economy rise. I've seen the programs that have been available. And I find the response right now to such a wonderful ESA program and all the delays that are going on and the questionable behaviors, I find it so disconcerting. I really struggle to support I want this program to work. These kids need it to work. I definitely know that at the very end of my son, I chose to pull him out, homeschool him sometimes, bring him back in. At the very end, he was able to take calculus, but they wanted to put him in an Algebra 1 class because he had it in the gifted junior highs. And that's how they handled him in the public schools. So thank you.
President Narducci, that concludes the call to the public.
Thank you very much. Thanks for everybody who was able to give comment today. Move on to the consent agenda, item number 3. And from this consent agenda, we'll be pulling item 3A as requested by Member Baker and item 3I at the request of Member Welborn. And with the assumption that everybody that has reviewed the consent agenda, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items 3B through 3H and 3J through 3O?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
And we have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody on the phone? Any opposed? The ayes have it. So if Member Baker is not on the phone, Member Baker, are you on the phone?
Member Mack is on the phone.
Okay, welcome Member Mack. So with Member Baker not on the phone and being asked to remove item, there he is. Oh,
Member
fantastic.
Baker is here.
Thank you, Cal. Member Baker, would you care to speak to item 3A?
I wish to thank all the people who've been working on this issue and getting all of the licensing information in a very readable and digestible package. We worked so hard to get this as part of the college and career readiness package, and there was a lot of criticism at the time that the licensing was not well defined, and there was great differences, and some were included and others weren't included, and those were legitimate concerns, but those concerns are being addressed. I'm just pleased at the progress and pleased that we have kids who can graduate from high school now, that schools can be incentivized to graduate kids from schools that have a clear, marketable skill. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Baker. Very much appreciate those comments. Any other comments?
President Narducci, Superintendent Hoffman, members of the board, thank you for the opportunity to talk about this item. It's my request that we delay vote on 3A to give us an opportunity to explore whether there is merit in establishing additional standards for the process for vetting the credentials and certifications that are added to the CNCR list. Some of the certifications require over 100 hours of study, and they can lead to very high-paying jobs. And there are others on there that require perhaps 8 hours of study online and lead to minimum wage jobs. And while it's really important that we are very inclusive and not selective in what careers people go into, I ask the question of whether we have an obligation to encourage higher standards that lead to higher paying jobs, and not to inadvertently provide an easy option for access to a minimum wage job. In addition, the new legislation that gives schools the opportunity for earning $1,000 per graduate who has a certificate on the list. My concern is if there's an unintended consequence for schools to push the easiest possible way to get a certificate so they can get that $1,000 revenue opportunity. So I'm just asking for the opportunity for the board to work with staff in the department to have a discussion around this, whether we want to push and encourage certifications and credentials that lead to truly highly skilled jobs and not inadvertently encourage pathways to minimum wage job. And I recognize that a lot of careers start off with minimum wage, so I'm not saying that what the outcome of this discussion would be. I just don't know if we might want to have to take a position on this to encourage higher standards. So I'd like to defer to my members on this board to see if they share any of these concerns and wish that we would take just a pause and delay this vote to have this discussion.
Superintendent Hoffman, thank you.
President Narducci, members of the board. Well, I definitely appreciate your concerns, as I also am deeply concerned about ensuring that our students have every opportunity for high paying jobs, as well as just meaningful jobs, of course. But just to share another perspective on this, I've been having a lot of conversations with high school CTE programs and educators, and some of the stories they're sharing about their students is that some of these, what we might consider a minimum wage job, can actually help students pay for college and can be that stepping stone they need to get into a higher level of academic coursework. So, for example, I spoke with one educator who was sharing that one of their former students who got her certification in cosmetology was able to work 2 days a week, cutting hair, working at a spa, working her way up while paying for college. That was how she paid for her own college degree. Same with students who so for example, another high school level certification program is for nursing assistants and I saw some similar things in here too that to me seem like stepping stones into the healthcare profession. That, yes, at the beginning, they're minimum wage, maybe working on an ambulance or helping out at a hospital, but that's something they can put on their college application that can be that stepping stone into becoming a doctor or into other professions. So while I completely understand where you're coming from, I also just want to point out that we are talking about high school programs, and that to me, this seems like stepping stones into what comes next. I don't necessarily think these students will necessarily be locked into these careers forever. So I just want to bring that perspective to the discussion.
Thank you. And then I appreciate your comments too. And Member Welborn and I spoke about this beforehand, and I was actually talking about these certification programs at the dinner table last night. And I have a son-in-law who has a couple businesses, including a DJ business that he runs on the side. And I can give anybody who wants his phone number and name afterwards. And he's a great guy and very entrepreneurial, and was going over the floor. This is one of the certifications, the floral design principles. And his DJ business also involves some wedding planning. And he told me last night that a good floral person who does weddings, and I don't know how many of them are, we talked about this, can make a lot of money. And the creativity that they have to do, and there's some. So I have 5 children. I'll give a quick story. Armando, you're the storyteller. I'm going to give a quick story today. I have 5 children, and they're all different, and they're all married. And I have some children who actually think very much on right side brain, and I have some children who very much think left side brain. And I have a wife who's left artistic is left side, right? Right side. I have a wife who's very right sided. And they can picture things in color. They can picture things the way they need to be. They can design flowers. They're musically oriented, etc. My right side brain kids. This type of certification, one of my daughters would have loved to have had, who ended up graduating with it, who ended up getting her high school with a GED because normal high school didn't give her what she needed. So I'm all for keeping kids in school. I'm all for keeping them able to get something that allows them to do something with the education, because everybody is not going to be 4-year college bound. And if they do happen to be 4-year college bound, fantastic for what they want to do. But these type of things, and I do think we need to give a little bit more effort into finding out what are the certifications we need to have to see maybe what the need is in industry, further needs, etc. But these type of things give people opportunity that maybe they wouldn't have had before. So that's my thought.
President Narducci and Superintendent Hoffman, I agree with you 100% that these certification programs are very valuable for our kids. I didn't mean to question any of that. My only question is, should we take a pause and have a discussion around, do we encourage everything, or do we look at a little more closely to what the labor statistic data is telling us about where the future growth is? I understand the folks at the Achieve AZ Arizona have some of the same concerns about weakening the value of the program because there does not appear to be a minimum. And I'm not suggesting we stop the program. I'm not suggesting we not do this. I mean, I think the CTA programs that we offer are enormously valuable. It's just that it's so easy to measure the value of getting a college education, and that stands for something. And I don't know that we do the same due diligence on the other side. That's my question.
President Narducci.
President Narducci.
Cal, can we let Superintendent Hoffman go first and then you? Is that all right?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
So President Narducci, members of the board, I just wanted to make sure we're aware, because I do serve on a CTE Quality Commission and get a lot of information about the work that's gone in behind the scenes for this. So I just want to be very clear that commission, as well as our CTE department, is constantly and always looking to Arizona workforce needs. So that is data we have available that we are using to make these determinations. This was not arbitrary. These are not just whatever was available. This was very research and data driven based on the future workforce needs of Arizona specifically. And this is actually information that we plan to build more collaborations, such as with the Board of Regents, to make sure that they are looking at the same data that we're looking at in terms of workforce. And I know these are not only college-bound students, but I just want to make sure we're thinking about everyone. But we have that data available if you'd like to see it.
Thank you, Superintendent Hoffman. Cal? Member Baker. Did you disappear, Cal?
Maybe he wasn't okay waiting.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Sorry, I should have had you go first. All right. We'll move on. With those comments, and appreciate all of them. And I do know about your commission because I'm supposed to attend some of those meetings.
Good.
I don't go. Do we have a motion to approve item 3A?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Armando's got a second. So I have a motion and a second. Do I have any further discussion? I'll make one comment. In light of Member Welburn's concerns, I would like to just have Member Welburn meet with our staff and before we vote here, meet with our staff, understand how the process is accomplished so that the input and the desired outcomes in your mind, Member Welburn, in conjunction with everybody else can be done with full information.
President Narducci, I have done a fair amount of study of the process. I am very familiar with the process. It's not that we don't have a very organized and planned process. We do. The question I'm trying to raise is, do we want to consider having standards around the process such that when an application comes before us, there is data in it that says we expect there to be 10,000 more florists in the state of Arizona. I believe they use some of that information in their vetting process. It doesn't always appear on the forms that come in front of us. Do we think that, for example, there's another item in 3A regarding this physical aptitude of folks that want to be firefighters? Mm-hmm. So in this case, the question is this truly a certification, or is this a test along the way for someone who's seeking to be a firefighter? So, for example, if you take a year-long course in first aid, along the path, there may be several tests, both informational and practical, to ensure you're learning the skills, but you don't get certified until you have some sort of comprehensive exam at the end that might incorporate some of the physical demonstrations along the way. So I have a question about the physical testing item in 3A as well. Is this a certification that stands on its own that will get somebody hired just for passing this particular physical test? Or is it part of the process in the training program for preparation of a firefighter? I don't have the answer to that question. So that's another area where we don't really have standards for deciding what's a test along the way versus what's a true certification and credential that can get you hired into a job.
Good points. Those are all good points. And maybe what we should do is create some type of study group, Alicia, to actually study some more just to make sure that we're comfortable. Some of us are completely comfortable with the process, and to me and I understand one thing that was mentioned was some things take 8 hours, some things take 100 hours. What's the rationale that goes behind those, et cetera? So I think maybe we can create some type of study group to go into it and then decide whether or not on a future meeting whether we want to open up something for the board to assess further. Cal's back.
President Narducci.
Go ahead, Cal. We did move, and we do have a second, but you go ahead and comment.
Okay. Let me just note that there are some students who do need an easy win, and when that win occurs, it prepares the ground for further wins. And also, part of the beauty of the work that's been done is that there is very clear information for everybody as to the result of these certifications. And kids are still quite highly motivated by money. They see the numbers, and they understand which program is going to give them greater financial opportunity than another program. And they can act on that, and I'm confident they're motivated on that. So I'm certainly not opposed to studying this further, but I do think we need to give schools the information so they can proceed and plan accordingly.
Thank you, Member Baker. Since we have a motion and a second, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed?
Nay.
Thank you. The ayes have it. We are moving to item 3I was also removed. Member Welborn, I believe you pulled this item because you'll be abstaining from this vote. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve item 3I?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, we will move on to item 4. And let's see, it's 11 o'clock. We'll keep going. This is a time for public to comment on items on the general session of today's agenda. Are we limiting these to 2 minutes? These are limited to 2 minutes as well. And then I just, one more time, suggest just remember being respectful and have civil comments amongst one another. Alicia.
First up, we have Catherine Foley, followed by Becky Vogel.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Chairman, Superintendent Hoffman, members of the board. My name is Rusty Foley, Catherine Foley. I am here representing Arizona Citizens for the Arts, statewide arts advocacy organization, in support, and we are here really in support of the State Seal for Arts Proficiency. You are considering the opening of a rulemaking today, and we are asking that you indeed do that. We endorse that. We have been involved in advocacy for the legislation that authorized this seal, and in helping to put together these requirements that you're going to be seeing for the seal today. Really for two major reasons. First of all, we believe that a state seal for arts proficiency on the high school diplomas of high-achieving arts students is a wonderful way to elevate the value of arts education to a well-rounded education. There are reams of research that exists that indicate that young people who are engaged in the arts are more likely to complete high school, pursue post-secondary education, and go on to successful careers and successful lives. Secondly, the Arts Seal will provide yet another pathway for achievement for high school students who are inclined to participate in the arts, and this opportunity might encourage them to an arts-related career, or it may simply assist them in achieving that well-rounded education that's so valuable to any other kind of career pursuit post-secondary. The State Board of Education recognized the overall value of the arts in 2015 when it improved the new Arizona academic standards for the arts, which are still in effect. These standards focus not only on artistic practice, but on the artistic process, which involves the learning and the thinking skills that are important not simply to art students, but to all students, whether they pursue an arts career or not. However, one of the most important aspects of the State Seal for Arts Proficiency is the opportunity to encourage students to join the creative industry sector in Arizona. According to the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis, Arizona creative industries contribute $9 billion a year to our state's economy. They generate $5 billion in wages and employ 90,000 individuals. These jobs represent all kinds of arts professions, and these jobs are there waiting for students who are prepared to fill them. Arts play a significant role in college and career readiness. We encourage you to please start the rulemaking process with the ultimate goal of ratifying and approving these requirements for the State Seal for Arts Proficiency. Thank you very much.
Becky Vogel, followed by Mark Jordanstad.
Hi, thank you, President Narducci, Superintendent Hoffman, and members of the board. My name is Becky Vogel. I'm the Fine Arts Specialist for the Phoenix Union High School District, as well as a member of RTAC, the Roundtable Action Committee. This is a group of fine arts stakeholders who meet quarterly to advise ADE on fine arts related things. We are made up of a team of classroom teachers, fine arts specialists, campus level administrators, arts community organizations, university level educators. And as a RTAC representative, as a fine arts specialist, and as a musician, I play the oboe. I am very excited about the legislation that has passed, creating the Fine Arts Seal, and I thank the board for your consideration of the process and implementation. Speaking with various colleagues in different LEAs, we've noticed a trend in the last few years of students being encouraged, pushing kind of out of the arts and into courses that can affect the school's A through F letter grade. Kids are being told things like, hey, you already took choir, why don't you take AP accounting instead? And so we appreciate that the rules that are being created for this Fine Arts Seal are encouraging a 4-year course of study in the arts, because consecutive years of study are so important to creating the proficiency in the fine arts. Our 2015 state standards have multiple levels. Our state standards recognize that you start with novice, then move to accomplished, then high school advanced, then high school proficient. Our students move through a course of study in their 4 years, gaining more proficiency and skills in their art forms. In order to truly develop the creativity skills and mind frames that will benefit our students in their careers and lives, sequential years of study are very important, and the Fine Arts Seal would recognize this. RTAC is in favor of the pathway requirements that a committee of diverse arts stakeholders created this summer. Students must not only take 4 years of a fine arts course, but they must have excelled in those classes. They must have given back to the art community through extracurricular activities and display their proficiency through a capstone project, such as putting on a senior recital or putting together a senior art show. These requirements are similar to the rigor required in an AP or a CTE course, and I look forward to being able to implement the seal at my LEA and within my role as a member of RTAC. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark Jordanstad, followed by Jessica Catlett.
Good morning, members of the President Narducci, Vice President Kaur, Superintendent Hoffman, members of the board. First of all, thank you for your continuing work for Arizona students, schools, and families. I'm Dr. Mark Jordanstad, Executive Director of the Arizona School Administrators. I'm going to comment on 2 items today. First, briefly, item 5B, which discusses the timeline for the release of school grades. We would encourage you to release all the school grades simultaneously rather than piecemeal, which we feel would result in confusion for staff, students, families, and communities. Secondly, the Arizona School Administrators urges the board to approve item 5A, the proposed timeline and early admission criteria for the school safety program's new fiscal year 2020 competitive grant application. The Department of Education has diligently sought input from multiple stakeholder groups in conjunction with state board staff to develop this process. More importantly, though, is the opportunity to now address the school safety needs of our students, our staff, our parents, and our Arizona communities. Our public schools, both traditional and charter, have been working with limited resources on two fronts to improve school safety and security. These two approaches address external attempts to make our facilities less accessible to those who would enter them and seek harm to our students and staff, while still making our environments welcoming places for parents and inviting settings to teach and learn. Simultaneously, we're making efforts to continue to ensure that all people within those schools, students and staff, feel valued and empowered, because a culture of inclusion is the foundation on which school safety is established. A school may be secured from intruders, but it's not safe if the people within feel excluded and lost. This grant is critical in providing exactly the type of individuals who assist in building and nurturing that culture of safety, where everyone knows your name and you have value. So don't wait to enhance our schools with these valuable resources. Let's take action before Arizona joins that sad litany of states whose schools have been attacked. Thank you.
Jessica Catlett, followed by Jeff Esposito.
Good morning. My name is Jessica Catlett, and I am a mom of two kids at Madison Simas Elementary School, a third grader and a kindergartner. I'm here with Moms Demand Action. First, I just wanted to say I'm grateful to the board for being proactive and looking for a solution to keep our schools safe. Research shows that investing in school-based mental health services is a critical step in keeping all of our students safe and creating a healthy learning environment. Any effective strategy for keeping schools safe must also consider what we know about mass shootings and gun violence in our society today. Just 2 weeks ago, a school within 2 miles of my house, Rose Lane, there was a 9-year-old who brought a gun in her backpack. Unintentionally, she grabbed the wrong backpack and brought it to school and then discovered that there was a gun in it. That's terrifying. In up to 80% of incidents, shooters obtain their guns from home, or a friend's home or a relative's home. I'm here today to encourage the board to promote awareness of responsible gun storage to prevent unauthorized access to guns. I believe that this is a crucial component to any Safe Schools plan, in addition to the work that you're already doing. So thank you.
Next up, we have Jeff Esposito, followed by Onita Perkel.
Superintendent Hoffman, President Narducci, members of the board. For the record, my name is Jeff Esposito. I'm here today on behalf of the Arizona School Counselors Association. I will keep my comments tame and brief. We are here today in support of item 5A, the timeline and criteria for the school safety grant program. I echo Mr. Jornstad's comments about the robust stakeholder process and the department's leadership in that. We think that this is the best process to get dollars flowing into our schools to help address our nationwide high counselor to student ratios, really start to help those students get the services and support that they need and deserve. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your support today.
Last up, we have Onita Perkel.
Hi, good morning. Superintendent Hoffman and board members. I'm here to speak a little bit just to bring forward a discussion regarding the safety program. I wanted to speak a little bit about and shed some light on children who are affected by the safety protection program. So I'm here as a parent of two kids, 13 and 16. And I'm a community member for the Paradise Valley School District, and I'm here to shed light on children, both of these, on two children especially, and they could be any child or any student in this state. Both of these children have mental illnesses. One suffers from ADHD and one suffers from PTSD. Their behaviors are exhibited differently from one child to the next. Arizona children are suffering from anxiety, depression, and trauma. Our students have some of the highest teen suicide and dropout rates in the nation, coupled with the crippling lack of counselors and social workers in our schools. We are dealing with symptoms here from kids with SPED needs not getting the proper services in our public schools and a decade-long problem of underfunded schools. We're dealing with symptoms. We know that students with SROs are more likely to be arrested in comparison with schools that are not policed. And crime is measured by the presence of officers. I'm going to digress here. My own children, both of my children, have learning differences and receive special ed services. And as a parent, I've been personally affected by their perceived interpreted behaviors manifesting as disobedience or willful. In a police school, we are much more likely to see more arrests, and we know that officers often interpret that as willful disobedience and defiance. And the likelihood of our SPED kids being arrested in public schools are 4 times more likely than kids that are not SPED. So research demonstrates that we need more school counselors in our schools so they can effectively deal with the behavioral issues with SPED kids versus more SROs in our schools.
President Narducci, that concludes item 4.
Do we need a break or should we keep going? Anybody need that? Good? Good? Okay. Sorry. Just checking if anybody needed a break before we moved on. We're going to move on. And we're going to move on to item 5A. And 5A is directly on point to some of our last comments. And we do appreciate all the comments that have been provided to us today. First and foremost, let me just reiterate, because I think I've said this since the first day that I sat in Christine's chair 2 years and several months ago, school safety is our priority. School safety in the classrooms, for our students' protection, our teachers' protection, and full campus protection. And it has been a top priority of the board. And that's why we appreciate the legislature and the governor appropriating an additional $20 million to the school safety program and expanding the program to include school counselors and social workers. The board's role in school safety is to review and approve the awards. In June, the board approved the final year of the existing 3-year cycle. We were not opposing school safety. We were not opposing any of the awards that had previously been given. We just voted to have more assessment done with the additional $20 million that was available for school counselors and social workers, to include school social workers. For the additional $20 million, the board requested the department return to the board at this meeting, which they have done, with a proposal that awards the $20 million to schools in the current school year, allows all the schools to apply for the funds, and ensures quality. I think my comment was I just didn't want people who were in the door to be the only folks that could have access to it, and we wanted to open the door. And they've done that with the proposed program that is before us. The board does not micromanage the department's program. We are the policy-making body, and the proposal presented today meets the board's 3 policy requests. And I appreciate the department and the stakeholders working on this to bring us the proposal today so that we can actually get the $20 million out this school year in a manner that is fair to all schools. So thank you very much. And we'll move on to item 5A. Item 5A, Alicia.
President Narducci, Superintendent Hoffman, members of the board, 5A will be presented today by Associate Superintendent Callie Kozlak. Yeah. That's right. We just know her as Callie.
All right. Good morning, President Narducci, Superintendent Hoffman, board members. Thank you for having us here again today. Let's see if I can get this going here. Here we go. All right, so we are pleased, on behalf of the Arizona Department of Education, pleased to be here today to reflect a new plan, proposed plan for the school safety program implementation for fiscal year 2020. This plan reflects the collaboration input of many different stakeholder groups as well as different government entities. We've spent the past couple months working through the complexities of expanding the program, expanding the scope of the program and the scale of the program on top of an existing program within the statutory requirements. I think the challenge with all this has been that there are lots of unknowns in terms of data and how many schools will apply, what they will request, and the pipeline of available qualified personnel, as well as variance in salary. So this proposal before you today tries to take into account a lot of those variabilities and build in sort of different areas where we can kind of work within those unknowns. So that being said, I did want to reiterate, the goals of the program is to get the money out the door and make some modifications to the existing cycle so that we are able to provide additional resources to Arizona schools. We are, looking to support, promote, and enhance effective learning for all students in all schools. And that being said, we seeking to have more schools having more access to resources, but still encouraging all schools under the statute to pursue that multidisciplinary team approach where they are working within multiple teams and expertise within the school in order to provide effective approaches to school safety, including both physical safety as well as mental health. And we also are very concerned about accountability as well and ensuring the high quality of the program. And we will be redeveloping our guidance manual as part of the implementation. We will maintain a contract with the Arizona Foundation for Legal Services, which supports the delivery of the law-related education. We will be reporting to the governor and the legislature and working with partners to evaluate the program as well. So here is the new proposed timeline. So the grant application, we are proposing the grant application to open in September 16th in a few weeks. And then that application will close on September 27th. Depending on the number of applications that we receive, we are aiming to have the applications approved and recommendations available for the board by October 28th so that schools can start receiving the money at that soon after. We are giving ourselves a little bit of buffer time in case there, depending on the number of applications and the time needed to go through them, as well as to potentially apply a scoring rubric in the situation where there are more applications than resources available. And the money would be available to schools immediately following the state board decision, although what it will be required of schools is that they have a contract on file of someone who the resources will be going to. And so at that point, the money goes to schools. So we're essentially holding the money for the schools to then pursue hiring their requested personnel resource under this program. We are also proposing to have an additional spring application window, which is sort of typically when the program runs its applications, so that if there are additional available funds that people can apply at the time, as well as applicants that maybe did not have a complete application last time around would have another bite at the apple. We would close that by April 15th and then bring before additional recommendations in May of 2020. We are proposing that from the time that the first round of awards are approved until August 2020 as a grace period for schools to have that funding on hold for them to hire someone, but gives them enough time to go out and seek that personnel, recognizing that school counselors or SROs may be on different hiring schedules, so it may be difficult to secure someone right away. And then depending on if there's funds that roll over because they went unused or there are additional funds, we would then run another mini grant this time, or September 2020, for years 2 and 3 of the cycle. So some of the changes that we found since the last meeting, I mean, you all asked for, different ways to kind of fast track the process. So we did that, and we did find some flexibilities. Initially when we run our grant programs, they run through a competitive process, and there's a lot of statutory requirements around competitive grant programs, including having a peer review process. We were able to apply for a waiver from ADOA in order to kind of create a faster process for the money to go out and to award the grants. So I included in your packets today a letter that we sent to ADOA requesting that waiver. Another hang-up that we originally saw was the April 15th deadline and opening up a new application process in the middle of a current cycle. But after some attorneys reviewed it, we found that really the intent of the new law was to get the money out as soon as possible. So we also found some flexibilities there. And then the current application, or the current law, also requires school visits to verify plans, but there's no specification on the timing of when those visits happen, so they could actually happen after the awards are made, and our staff can still go out and verify the plans. So I just wanted to, this slide here is to point out, some of these are the requirements under the statute for ADE. So this is how we are, thinking about implementation of the program, is to use various data points to inform our decision around the competitive grants, as well as providing ongoing technical assistance and guidelines in collaboration with community partners and other experts. So this is what we are using to kind of guide our approach to implementation. And throughout this process of stakeholder engagement, we got lots of questions about, what do our current SRO trainings look like? And so here's a snapshot of some of the courses and curriculum that are used both with administrators and school safety officers in order to support the implementation of the program. And moving forward, I think if a school also had a school counselor or social worker, they would be able to be part of this training as well as other school personnel who are sort of involved with that multidisciplinary approach. And we are, looking to work with stakeholders to develop new trainings as well, particularly with the expanded scope of the program. So in here is the requirements for the LEA applications. And when I say LEA, it goes through an LEA to apply to the department, but it really is based on a school site. So they are applying on behalf of a school site. And there are different requirements under the statute for both an SRO, JPO, and a school counselor and a school social worker. So this is what we are using to design the application. This, in effect, will be the application as long as, since we are not having a peer review process, we are going to be looking to see if schools have basically followed the guidelines framework of the statute in order to recommend their approval. Anyway, these are just continued pieces there. And it is important to note that the statute doesn't prevent a school from applying for more than one position or a combination of positions. And we are going to create an application that allows for that. But it will be a matter of available resources, funding, that will determine the types of position, or not the types of positions, but the amount of positions that a school would potentially be eligible to receive. So here is just a snapshot of what the applications, what we're intending for the application process is. We will have one master application. All schools will, whether they're applying for one position or multiple positions, will indicate their first choice. If they're applying for more than one, they can rank their preference. And then we will ask schools that if they have more, that they are applying for more than one position, regardless of what their first choice is, that they fill out all the fields for the relevant positions that they are applying for. And then for the review of the applications, all applications will be reviewed as a pool once the application window closes in the fall. All applicants will have rank ordered their preference of position for which they are applying. We also think that will give us good data points on sort of what local communities are asking for the state in terms of school safety positions. The applications must be complete. That we are asking that in order to be considered that they do indeed complete the application process, and that the schools are intentional about it because it will be used as a guideline going forward around the school safety plan. Any incomplete applications, as I mentioned earlier, will have another chance to apply during the spring round, pending available funds. Completed applications will be awarded their first choice. If there are more applications than resources available, ADE will use a scoring rubric to determine need of applications, and this will include being granted additional positions requested. So we are proposing a rubric that includes multiple tiers that we would potentially use to support the implementation of the program if there are more applications and resources available. So that's it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate all the hard work. That's the big question, and I know it was an obstacle for all of us. 3 years, that we talked about it last time. You have to do it in these 3 years. I'm glad and so happy and congratulate you guys on looking at it, getting it worked out the way that we needed to, and appreciate all the hard work to get where we are so we can actually have this today. I think fantastic job. So we applaud you. Any questions from board members? Dr. Chang.
President Narducci, not a question. I'm just happy to see that new monies can go out to districts, right, and that the timeline is tight, but I think that it's really important to expand this to all districts.
Right. Thank you. So with that said,
President Narducci.
Member Welborn.
I recall an earlier presentation of this program. We had some rough estimates on how many new officers and counselors or social workers would be made possible through this incremental program. I recall that in the program before this additional funding, we had approximately maybe 100 SROs, officers, that were funded, and perhaps 175 schools that applied. So there was a huge demand that wasn't met. Mm-hmm. So I'm just curious as if we've seen any estimates that have been able to project what the demand will be versus what we'll be able to fund.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough question in terms of just because of the variance in salary and the type of positions. I know our team had number crunched a few numbers last time around in June, and I think estimating that those 200 schools that we were proposing to be approved, there would be enough funding under both the 12 million and the additional 20 for them to have a SRO and a school counselor, just as like a rough cut. That was potentially the estimate. There are also some of that funding goes to our administrative cost and to some of the professional development contracts as well.
So am I correct in thinking that approximately 200 schools can benefit in total out of the 2,000 schools we have in Arizona?
I would say more like 350 to 400 if you break
350,
that
400
out.
out of the 2,000 schools we have. Thank you.
But again, very rough numbers.
We don't know. We're learning.
Yeah.
Thank you.
President,
Yes, sir.
I'm not going to give a story.
Oh, no. I was looking forward to it.
President Arducci, Superintendent Hoffman, members. I'm happy to see that the only choice is not just to have a school resource officer. Sometimes in our communities, we have that tension, and you need people who can bridge that gap. And yet, at the same time, we want our schools to be safe. We don't want violence, not from internally nor externally, to come on campuses. And to have social workers as part of that mix, I think that just makes a lot of sense. Hopefully, most people would like to have a school resource officer in terms of a police officer or somebody like that. But sometimes it just won't work, and you can't be proactive by having people who go into the community, social workers, who make those contacts with the parents, who have their ears to the ground, and they know what's going on. And those people are just as valuable in terms of making sure that you're going to have a safe school. So, I'm happy to see that, and hopefully, when the monies go out, it takes that significantly into account.
Thank you.
Superintendent.
President Narnucci, members of the board, thank you all so much for at least expressing support around this new proposal. I know how much work has gone in behind the scenes, and really want to acknowledge, just thank you to the board staff, to the governor's office, to ADOA, to all of the stakeholders that came to the meetings, to our ADE policy team, as well as our school safety department. And I'm also just really excited for future initiatives around this, even within our department. And as Callie mentioned, the piece where we want to expand our school safety program so that more